Today's topic is, are you a worker? Pretty much when I was young, I started my career in retail. I started at a hardware store. As I grew with the company, opportunities for employment would come up. Now, I was a hard worker. I was always on time. I knew how to run a register, could mix paint, keys, cut glass, the whole 9 yards. My knowledge for promotions put me in a good position to get them. But when the time came, I never got them. Discouraged a little bit, I kept at it. Another promotion would come along. Yet again, I was passed up. And yet another and another. Eventually, I would quit that job, seek new employment to maybe get the opportunities again to further my cause, to grow in the career that I wanted. But one boss that I had, we would have staff meetings. And I would always bring up the subject of promotions. And he would always take me to the side, and he would always tell me, I decide who gets hired and pay what I think you are worth. Now, to me, I thought that was a little like a low ball. I should get paid more than what I work for. But in a sense, I worked harder than most people, still got promotions. I didn't get the promotion that I wanted, but I still got raises. But he also said, I could argue the conversation, but he was the boss, and he was his company. Now, maybe I was more important in my role because I could do it like nobody else could. He couldn't afford to promote me or to replace me at that point in time. I would always have the opportunity for employment or the opportunity to be promoted later on down the road. But there's a parable in the Bible that tells us about the workers in the vineyard. In Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 to 16, and we'll read about it. When we become Christians, we are hired to do God's work. In Mark chapter 16 and verse 15. In Matthew chapter 20, we'll read verses 1 to 2. It reads, For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man in a household. For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers in his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into the vineyard. Work is what defines us. It is more than just paying the bills. Work gives us meaning in our lives. When we can't find work for a long period of time, some people lose their sense of identity and their self-worth diminishes. The same goes for us spiritually. If we don't study, we become lazy, and we will fall away. Verses 3 to 9. It reads, When he went out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. And again he went about the 6th hour and 9th hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and said unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? They say unto him, Because no man hath hired us. He saith unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his steward, Call the laborers, and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. There are many factors why the landowner went out every 3 hours to hire new workers. Maybe some that he hired quit during the day. They couldn't hack it, so they quit. They didn't get their pay during the day, though. Maybe others, more workers were needed because the demand was too much. They needed more and more workers to fill the demands of the vineyard. Many things go into the aspect of hiring new people, but few are called, many are chosen. In verses 10 to 14, reads, But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and the likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the goodman of the house, saying, These last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden the heat of the day. But he answered and said unto them, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Take that as thine. Take that thine is, and go thy way. I will give unto this last, even as unto thee. Now, this practice wouldn't go very well in today's society. If one man worked 1 hour and another man worked 12 hours and you paid them both the same wage, there'd be riots and everything else in the streets. Many people don't see it that way, but they work their day's wage. That's what they agreed on. You might think it's unjust that the other workers who worked longer should be paid more, but the agreement was for a penny a day. We don't get to decide what others deserve for their works. That is up to the boss. Or, in our case, God Almighty. God holds all the wealth. He is generous and gracious to all. Those who obey last have the same access to the kingdom, just as those who obeyed from the start. And lastly, from verse 16. So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen. In the vineyard, those who were paid were the ones who stayed till the end of the very end of the day. Our job as Christians are never ending. Our timesheet is always running. When we become Christians, we must be willing to work. We have to want to work. We have to endure until the day is done. In my little story earlier, I quit my jobs because the work was not for me. It wasn't up to my standards. But if you look at it from a spiritual aspect, it's not up to our standards. It's up to God's standards. If you quit halfway and you don't fulfill your duties to the end, you won't get a reward at the end. You'll get a reward, but it won't be the reward that you wish you deserved. If there are those here that have not obeyed the gospel and would like to come forth, we'll stand and sing the invitation hymn, 254.